on, people? It's Rob from the Cornastore podcast with AJ from the Comeback Sports Podcast. How you doing, man?
I'm pretty good, Rob. Glad to be here. Looks like it stopped raining. My power went out actually about a half hour ago. So I was like, ooh, hopefully me and Rob can get the show rolling. So hopefully it looks good in your end.
Oh yeah. So far so good, man. So like last time we was here, right? We did the Super Bowl prediction, and even during that time, I mean, I think both our predictions were like totally off because we were expecting that beat down.
Oh yes, we definitely were.
Yeah, and towards the end of the video, you kind of mentioned how you was a fan of LeBron James. So I figured that at some later time we can have a conversation about him. And I figured that since he got eliminated in the first round, and obviously it was unfamiliar territory on his part. Hell froze over. LeBron James got kicked out of the first round, so and the media kind of went crazy, and everybody was ready to put blame on everybody else but LeBron James. So I just want to get a take on as far as like how do you feel about his career up to this point? He did a full 18 years. So we can kind of start from the beginning up to this point today.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that stands out to me the most is the longevity of his career. He has played majority of all his seasons, and 4 rings is real hard. It's hard enough it is. Of course, when you're comparing him to his counterpart, Michael Jordan, who has 6 straight rings, people like to put them in the mix. And in terms of LeBron's overall career, would I give it like a grade? I would probably honestly give him more of a B plus to an A minus. The reason why I want to keep it to a B plus is just how he came out of the first round. As Rob mentioned, hell froze over and LeBron got eliminated in the first round, and that is his first round of elimination. And I think, did you know Devin Booker is the only player that has LeBron James's first round jersey?
Oh, no, I don't do that.
It's crazy to think that. Who knows how much this is going to be worth in a couple of years, that jersey itself. And it just didn't really see much aggression. But as LeBron's in that A minus tier to me because it's just the longevity and how much he's superhuman. He's probably one of the most athletic athletes I've seen in my time watching sports. And like, as I mentioned in a previous video, like there were speculations that he could have went to the NFL and played tight end if he were to chose that football route, but that's that we will never know to be exact. But it's just the time is short. LeBron is pretty close to the last leg of his career. When I watched the press interview conference after the first elimination, it seemed to me that he definitely wants to give it one more run. I think this is the last chance he has. I think after next year, it's going to be more of a decline versus this year, because this was kind of LeBron's like first major like injury that prolonged, not his first one, but it's I'd say his second one, because he did have that groin injury that kept him out for a while last season.
Yes.
And this is another example of like LeBron is at a decline, and it's probably going to be more steep of a decline moving forward.
Yeah, being that he's like 36 years old, anytime he's going to get an injury is going to be a prolonged recovery because of father time. And just kind of like piggyback as far as how you grade him, I would probably grade him a B plus as well, because I mean, if you was to kind of like compare his career pound for pound from year 1 to year 18, and with the production that he has, I mean, he is up there. I mean, he has the ball in his hands. He creates the offense. He is the offense. They call it the LeBron James system. So, but as far as Michael Jordan winning 3 straight, retiring, then coming back for like a brief stint, and then got eliminated by the Magic, and then he came back for that second three-peat. I mean, his last 6 years as a Bull, yeah, he won 6 straight. And being that Michael is probably would be voted as like the overall GOAT of basketball. I mean, just to have that label, it has to have some type of monetary value to it, because to like be the label as the GOAT, I mean, you get so many opportunities outside of basketball. I mean, obviously he was able to get the ownership of the Bobcats, and he ended up switching the name to the Hornets. And also there's this big mystique to Michael Jordan still, because he's not really on social media like that. So he's not that easily accessible. But with LeBron James, anything that's on his mind, he's going to put it on Twitter or Instagram. So it's 2 different generations. And as far as someone at that GOAT title, it's more of a monetary value to that. What that value is, I really don't know. It's probably going to be in the billions, but being that Michael Jordan been out of basketball literally for almost 20 years, he still got the number one shoe. So it has to mean something to be the actual GOAT. And with kids who never really seen him play live, they still flock to buy his shoes more than KD's, Kyrie's, LeBron's. So yeah, being the GOAT, yeah, it got to have some type of $1 billion value to that. So that's why LeBron really wants that.
Right. LeBron definitely is a businessman himself, being that he is part of the movie industry. He's actually a pretty decent actor. I've seen clips of him in that movie Trainwreck a few years back, and he's been in a couple commercials. To your degree, yes. Outside of basketball, your GOAT status is kind of determined by that. But one thing I could say with LeBron that I don't think Jordan necessarily touch upon is just his involvement in social issues. Jordan kind of likes to step away from that. I recall a quote that he said about Republicans buy shoes also. LeBron, he doesn't really care about that sort of aspect of politics, and he speaks freely of his beliefs of injustice amongst African Americans.
Yeah, I see that, but I mean that's one I would kind of disagree on that about him because I mean he takes stances in which it really is really not going to be like a high price to him. So he takes very safe social stances, just like when he called President Trump a bomb. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the majority consensus would probably think that, and you know that's not a controversial thing for him to say, especially from the left. And
Mm-hmm.
as far as the media comparing him to Ali, I think that that's unfair to Ali because Ali back then he faced real type of oppression and he would go to anybody's platform and debate them in front of all white audiences. LeBron James is not going to do that. Just when Laura Ingraham invited him to her show so that they could kind of piggy like have like a dialogue about President Trump as far as what he's doing, what he's not doing to help the people in the country. And LeBron pretty much kind of ignored her request to come on the show. But if it was Ali, he would have went on her show and debated her. So it's two different mindsets in which Ali, I mean, he didn't have a corporation backing him, but LeBron, he got Gatorade, McDonald's, Nike. I mean, I think those are the corporations that kind of pulling the strings as far as like allowing him to kind of say whatever he wants to say. And I mean, he's making more money off the court than he is in his NBA salary. So that's why he feels safe to kind of like take these non-controversial stances in which it kind of seems brave. I mean, I commend him for like taking certain stances, but is very tailored from the corporation standpoint.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that's a pretty good point once you put it in perspective.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, you know, did you see the clip in which he was in a bubble? He was walking around with his Malcolm X book, acting like he
Oh,
was.
really? He
So
wasn't reading
yeah.
upside down, was he?
No, I mean, I will give him that credit. It wasn't upside down, but I guess one of the reporters asked him as far as what he thought about the book, and he gave like the most vague explanation of what he thought about the book. I'm like, LeBron, you did not read that freaking book. Stop cloud making. So
Oh, you're saying you
yeah.
read the Spark Notes, the
Oh
Spark
yeah,
Notes version.
yeah. If that. So
Taylor, you want to follow up? Yeah. So you're holding the autobiography of Malcolm X along with Alex Haley. I don't know how far you are into the book, but what's your biggest takeaway so far?
I kind of just started a couple days ago, but I've read and a lot of notes over the years. It's my first time actually reading this from start to finish. But just a very very smart man, very smart man, and basically his words in the '60s and what was going on is actually what's going on today still. Him understanding how powerful the Negro can be. He used that word a lot. How powerful we are, but we have to unite, and we have to be together. We have to stand strong because there's always going to be obstacles. There's always going to be things that's going to be thrown at us where they try to weaken us. They try to make us feel like we're not kings and queens, and it's going to come from all different races and different shapes and sizes and things of that nature. just a very powerful-minded gentleman, and it's unbelievable to kind of read something that's coming directly from him. Just hate. Wish I had the opportunity to meet him. Obviously, we know what the situation that happened among not only him, but Dr. Martin Luther King, some of the greats that's ever walked this face of the earth, not only just here in America, but in this face of the earth. So it's a pretty interesting book so far.
Well, that's the thing about LeBron is like, it's very easy for people to kind of, give him a little criticism, because I will admit, as much as I admire LeBron's game, he kind of does put it on himself to like kind of be criticized, even from a non-basketball standpoint. I'm not sure if you see my video. I was a little harsh on LeBron with the whole flopping within the first round, and I think even the game against the Warriors going into the play-in tournament, he just does a little couple of antics where I think he knows what he's doing, but because he knows the game so well and he wants to try to optimize or sort of get any sort of opportunity to get some free throws. It's a little over the top sometimes, but it's because he's so smart at it, though.
I think he was going for the flagrant against Draymond Green because basically he got poked in the eye. So basically, once he fell to the ground, first thing he did was he grabbed the back of his head. But after that, he grabbed at his calf or his knee or his ankle, and then he rolled over and kind of laid on his arm. And then once all the dust cleared, he just got poked in the eye. I was like, Did you really have to do all that? Really?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give him a little bit of credit because getting anywhere near your eye, it is a little scary. It probably shocked him a little bit, which caused kind of the over dramatic scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So but yeah, as far as the way that they kind of exited this year, obviously it was mostly injury ridden. KCP was hurt, AD was hurt. Obviously, he was hurt all year with just nagging injuries. So people kind of saying how AD is not really training like the right way. That's why he's constantly getting all these nagging injuries. And LeBron, I think he invests roughly like $1 million a year on his body, so that's why he has this longevity. So, but however, remember when he went back to Cleveland after Miami?
Oh yeah.
Now, remember he was like very frail and skinny, and he could barely jump. And then he took like a 2-week break and went to Miami to like do some type of special training. And then once he got back, he was literally like Superman. He was just jumping above the rim. I thought it was kind of odd. So, just to kind of take a 2-week break in the middle of the season, just to clear your head and get stronger. And then he came back and he was just a totally different player.
Yeah, maybe he was just trying some sort of new, probably some new dieting or training technique to where kind of developing some sort of like muscle confusion. And then when he came back into full mode with his training, where he came back like superhuman again, as you can see, he probably didn't do that again. So maybe it's just like a kind of like testing the waters kind of thing. And yeah, I do recall the media kind of going about, oh, LeBron does not look like he's in top shape anymore. And then he comes back and, oh, wow, he's pretty much back to where he was, and he was in Miami. But who knows? I mean, he has all the money. He, as you mentioned, he invests a lot of money into building himself. And I'm sure he does things that other star athletes didn't even think of trying.
Yeah, I know that in Miami he sees a specialist called a biomechanist. So it's more of a it's more like a if I was put like a simplistic name to it, it's more like extreme yoga. The way that he stretches or whatever. But I saw like a clip of his trainer, by the way, that they kind of help with their clients and everything. So I mean, I thought it was a pretty interesting workout routine. So, but I mean, I did P90X yoga, and I think that was the hardest yoga I ever done. And I can't imagine if I was to work with that type of biomechanics. So I don't know. But that's why he spends all that money. So
right, I know what you mean with the P90X. I did do P90X for a couple workouts when I was in high school track, and it is no joke. I'd rather run 10 miles than do that stuff, honestly.
Oh yeah. When you first do it, yes, it is very intense, but as your body get used to it, then it's just normal. So just as long as you stick with it. So
right
now,
I guess before we move forward, since we're on the top of Cleveland, would you say his run in Cleveland was kind of more of his highlight of his entire career versus Miami and LA? As in the second round in Cleveland, I mean.
You know what? The second round in Cleveland, that's when he pretty much kind of peaked um, with his mental when it came to the approach of the game. Now his Miami years was more his physical peak, but his second go round in Cleveland was more of his mental, where he kind of put everything together, and that's when he kind of learned how to kind of close towards the end of the game. So,
Mm-hmm.
but in Miami, of course, he had that buffer of Wade and Bosh to kind of like help him out with that. But yeah, in Cleveland, yeah, he was more of a complete basketball player with his mental game. So yeah.
I think a lot had to do with just the hometown effect, to where it was the perfect story for him, and he needed to complete that story. So that, yeah, you're right. He definitely was. Yeah, I would say he's definitely more mentally complete, and he came clutch when it came to that series where he was down 3-1, and that kind of put me. It kind of made me realize, yeah, he deserves to be in the conversation at that point as the GOAT of basketball. And that's when I started to follow more closely with LeBron after that stint.
Well, as Stephen A. would put it, after the NBA gave him that stimulus package, suspended Draymond for Game 5
That's true.
and doing that game. Bogey got hurt. Game 6, pretty much just home served. You know, they won at home. And Game 7 was a toss up. And I saw like a stat as far as like total points scored throughout the whole series. I mean, Cleveland scored 4 more points than Golden State. That's how it was that close.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the difference.
Right. You have to remember, the year LeBron left Cleveland and he went to LA. Do you remember? Do you recall what sort of standings the Cleveland Cavaliers were the year after he left?
That first year after okay, he left Cleveland for LA. What was their
Mhm.
record? They was probably one of the worst teams of the league. Well, as far as in the East.
Second worst in the East.
Second worst in the East. Okay.
Yeah, it was a pretty big change. And you had
Yeah.
Kevin Love. Yeah, but then again, you also missing Kyrie. So I will give you that.
Yeah, Kyrie. Right. He was in Boston already. So
Right.
but yeah, I mean, obviously, when LeBron leaves any team, I mean, because that team is pretty much kind of tailor made for him because of the LeBron James system. So basically, he hawks the ball, he drives to the rim and kick it out to the shooter. So that's pretty much
Mhm.
kind of like his style of play. And once he leaves the team, then because they had drafted Colin Sexton.
Oh yeah, he's good. I like him.
Yeah, and Sexton is good, but like the roster is not really tailor made for a Colin Sexton type of show. So that's why Cleveland kind of suffered. I mean, any team suffers after he leaves them. So I mean, and plus Cleveland, they were able to get 2 number 1 picks, following him leaving for Miami. Because remember, they got Kyrie and they drafted Anthony Bennett, and they also drafted Wiggins prior to him going back. Remember when they drafted Wiggins and number 1 pick, and then once he came back,
Oh.
because LeBron, he was in his win now type of situation, so
Mhm.
he didn't want to play with a young player, so that's why they were able to kind of like trade him for Kevin Love.
Okay. Yep, I do remember that now.
Yeah,
Wow. Yeah, I do recall there was that one stint with the Bulls where they were pretty close to taking LeBron off. D Rose didn't get hurt, and yeah, that was also a very interesting time for the Bulls as well. But that's a story for another day.
oh yeah, yeah. Now, now my disdain for LeBron is more 30% of him and 70% of the media.
Mm-hmm.
Now he does like a lot of crazy stuff on and off the court. And as far as what the media try to portray about him, I'm like, see, this is why I don't like LeBron, because he got these puppets, these
Mm.
minions, likely on his payroll, that's going to say nice things about him and is not going to really call it out. I mean, the only ones that really call it out, in which they probably will be considered haters, is like sometimes Stephen A. kind of gets it right. And of course, you got Skip Bayless, where he just been on LeBron's tail literally throughout his whole career. But Skip, I mean, he does give good takes. He does give accurate takes about LeBron. So he's not going to be in all over him, because I mean, Skip, he used to he used to write for I want to say the Tribune during the Jordan years. So Skip, he's not in awe over the best player of the league because he went through that shit before.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, Skip Skip Bayless, I've had kind of like a love-hate relationship with him. As I got younger, I wasn't the biggest fan of Skip because of like how over the top he was. But Skip, yeah, he was just kind of over the top when I first was listening to him. That's when he first got on Undisputed with Shannon Sharp. And as over time, I realized Skip's more of just like an entertainer. Like his persona of LeBron, of this LeBron hater, is what people just love to not love it, but never like dislike something so much, but you still just want to keep on like, being more involved with it. Like people just like the LeBron hate and they just wanted to keep listening and keep egging on Skip, and Skip's all right. This is what getting the attention. This is what getting me attention. I was just keep going on with these LeBron takes. But you're right. Sometimes he does have good takes. But at first I just didn't like him. But as I got older, I kind of understood the whole persona and just definitely was more. I don't know. Yeah, just more like Skip more.
right, okay. Now when he left Cleveland, like the first go round, when he went to Miami, like to me, I thought he was ring chasing too soon. Because had he stayed in Cleveland, he would eventually won a championship. I mean, they were just one player away. I mean, they got LeBron James for crying out loud. So they was literally one like go-to player, like well, I'm sorry, one number two away, and like a couple of role players. So, but he would eventually won. But the fact that he went to Miami chasing rings at such a young age, I thought it was just they were just so premature on his part because if you think about it, this was like the first time in which it was like a player generated transaction to like be on the same team in your prime with two other players in the same draft in which they were the top 5 picks. That never happened before.
Yeah. Let's see. You're referring to Kyrie and who else?
Now, I'm talking about in 2010 when he left Cleveland and went to Miami.
Oh,
Because remember, LeBron, he was number one in 2003. Number two was it was either Melo or Darko Milicic, and then it was Melo Milicic. They was 2 and 3. Then Bosch was 4. Wade was 5.
that's right.
So the fact that all these players in their prime, they're the top 5 picks in the '03 draft, and they all joined forces to join Miami, and then to have that pep rally, which LeBron said, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7. So that made him public enemy number 1. So yeah.
Yeah, I just remember the decision. That was kind of like it was just a very unnecessary thing. Yeah, I think the decision was kind of the beginning of the LeBron hate. Just because like it was just never done before, and it was just out of the ordinary. Like this young kid just wants to make a decision that he's going to a different team where he's staying, and it was a little strange to me. Do you remember watching that, or at least hearing about it, and what were your thoughts on it?
I saw a laugh. I mean, what he did behind the scenes to like raise money for the Boys and Girls Club. I mean, I thought it was a good thing, but as far as the whole like optics in a manner in which he kind of left Cleveland and then have a pep rally, gloating about how it's gonna be so hard in practice with playing against D Wade and Bosch. Then once they get into the regular NBA games, everything's gonna be so easy. So I thought that was very hubris of him. But as far as the decision, I mean, what if he did or not? I mean, he was going to go back to Cleveland. I mean, it was just the whole optics, and it was a good thing that he did raise money for a good cause. So, but other than that, they could have did without the pep rally.
Yeah, the pep rally was the pep rally is fine. They just need to mention that they're going to promise all these rings. which is go back to your point of like the media is going to make a big deal about it and have an ESPN segment for like a week straight saying, "Oh, can the Miami Heat do all this?" and then of course it just escalates from there. But at the time, like that team did seem unstoppable, and they did win back to back. So it's very easy for them to think, "Oh, we can get a third one." But obviously, it didn't happen.
Well, that first year they was running to some roadblocks. I mean, they were very underwhelming in the regular season. That's why the Bulls had the number one seed and D Rose had the MVP that year. I mean, they wasn't really going gangbusters like against the whole league. I mean, they were taking some time to like gel, and then everything kind of clicked actually during that Eastern Conference Finals against the Bulls because they lost against the Bulls in game one, and then they won four straight.
Mm-hmm.
So then when they got into the finals of that year, they won convincingly in game one. Game two, they was just about set to win because they were up 15 with like 3.5 minutes left. And they were kind of like cocky and thought that they had it in the bag. And then Dallas just made this incredible run. And LeBron, he really wasn't the same after that.
Yeah, he kind of mentally broke down. Being speculating because LeBron, like you mentioned, at that time he was in like physically, he was peak shape physically, and then it wasn't until he got to Cleveland that he was kind of more mentally on peak shape.
Yeah, because even in the Miami's years, I mean, he was literally like he could guard just about all the positions. And that's what he took pride in, as far as his defense. And then once he went to Cleveland, um, even though he really wasn't, well, he was on his back nine of his physical prime, his physical peak, but his mental game definitely elevated, and he was just hitting game winning shot after game winning shot whenever they was put in those type of situations. So, but but yeah, as far as the Miami years, man, he was able to win two MVPs. He, Pat Riley won Executive of the Year during one of those years. They only had one 60-win season, which was kind of odd, as being that he actually had a 60-win season, I think twice in his Cleveland Act One, but the fact that he only had 60 wins one time with Wade and Bosh, I mean, I thought that was very underwhelming, but I mean, like, would you think that winning two rings out of four, was that really a success as far as their standards?
Um, yeah, I think so because even I just don't think you see a lot of teams that was like kind of like it was one of the dynasties. I would consider as a dynasty, obviously. What a dynasty to me is when team has more than one ring within like a small frame, which is two out of four. I consider as a dynasty. And after that, then Golden State was kind of the next dynasty. So in my perspective, I think yes, that kind of was a successful run.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I mean, obviously they should have won in Dallas, and then KD, he was still a baby, him and Westbrook. So Miami, they should have won that series, in which they did. Now, as far as the Spurs, they should have won. I'm sorry, they should have lost in 2013, but they should have won in 2014 because the Spurs was already an old team, and they were beat in 2013. And here we come 1 year later. They're all 1 year older. The Spurs still should have lost that series, but I mean, they actually won that series in like record margin. I mean, D Wade was kind of hobbled with his knee. Bosh, he was still effective, and LeBron, he was still throwing up crazy numbers, but but Boris Diaw, he led that whole series in assists.
Mm.
So that was the biggest X factor was Boris Diaw because he was just dropping dimes throughout that whole series.
Could you recall, or what was the series? What I can't remember if it was the Spurs or not. I don't think it was, but where Ray Allen made that shot to win that game. Do you recall which series that was?
That was 2013 Spurs Game Six.
Gotcha. Would you say that shot that won the game was pretty much saved LeBron's career? Because I remember Skip Bayless likes to make takes on Ray Allen saving LeBron's career. What do you think on that?
It is a kernel of truth into it because had Ray lost, I'm sorry, missed that shot, then obviously they would have just went down in 6 games. But he was able to tie the game. forced the game 7, and LeBron, he actually played pretty well. So, um, I mean, great players. They put your teammates in the best situations in order to make a shot like that. I mean, Ray, he's one of the top shooters to ever play in the NBA. So it was a wide open corner 3-pointer, which is an easy 3-pointer if you're used to shooting it at a high volume as he was. So, but did he save his legacy? I mean, maybe yes, but he was supposed to make that shot since he was open. Um, but he is on LeBron James' team, and he's supposed to make that shot. And not only for LeBron's legacy, but his legacy as well. So I won't put it strictly on LeBron's legacy, but I mean, if you're open, make the damn shot. So
That's true.
so remember, actually 2 years ago, sorry, last year in the bubble. Remember when I believe it was like game 5 in which LeBron was driving and Danny Green, he missed a wide open 3-pointer on the top of the key, like something like that. Danny Green was supposed to have made that shot. He gets paid to be a 3-and-D guy. He should have made that shot, and then the Lakers would have won in 5, but they lost that game in which Miami had forced them to a game 6, in which Miami had no business winning 2 games from the Lakers.
Yeah, I do recall. And then when I was watching that series, the Twitterverse, everybody was just dogging on Danny Green.
Yeah.
And to your point, well, not to your point, but it's like when you're on LeBron's team, I will admit you do have to be at that expectation of pretty much like you got to be on your top game at all time. Like it's not. I'm not sure if it's LeBron that puts the pressure or if it's the media puts the pressure. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, okay, I'll say this. LeBron, he calls like a lot of shots behind the scenes. And that was apparent in Cleveland. I mean, that's probably why he went back to Cleveland, because like in Miami, he couldn't really do none of that because Pat Riley, he's a real alpha male. He wasn't going to allow a player to like dictate terms to him like that. So that's why the appeal of him going back to Cleveland, which he could kind of run the show. And the GM was going to check him. I mean, he really was. He wasn't communicating with the owner like that, because him and the owner, they were still at odds because of that letter that Dan Gilbert had wrote when he left the first time. So by him going back to Cleveland, he was pretty much calling all the shots, and he was credited as being the coach slash GM slash go to captain. So, but but if he's going to be touted as the of the quote unquote GM of the team, then he has to take responsibility when things don't work out.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. I do recall me and my buddies would make jokes when he was in Cleveland. Or, oh, you're going to watch the game tonight? Oh, yeah, you're going to watch the Cleveland LeBrons play? So that was kind of the joke because he runs that team. But you're right. If you're going to be not only the star of the team, but pretty much behind the scenes, the GM, especially when you're that, LeBron is one of the smartest players I've seen to play the game. He has to know kind of ways to pretty much maximize the team's potential, whether it's on the court or off the court. And it's just hard because sometimes they just don't step up, and he has to, in Cleveland at least, he had to be that guy.
I mean, but sometimes players that's like that good, obviously they see the game at a different vantage point than like a regular average player. That's why Michael Jordan never really picked good talent, because he just doesn't have an eye for that, because he just like irks Michael when like regular players just don't have the same dedication as him. So I think LeBron suffers from in like that same realm as well. So that's why Magic Johnson wasn't a good coach, because he sees the game at a certain vantage point and he just can't coach. I mean, he's a good leader on the court, but as far as on the bench, he just it just wasn't his wheelhouse. But but as far as, I mean, he does make his teammates better. But however, when things doesn't work out, he has this passive aggressive demeanor in which he doesn't like dap up his teammates. He doesn't try to pick them up when they're down. Just like when he kind of had a temper tantrum when when J.R. Smith kind of botched that missed free throw by George Hill, and
Mhm.
they failed to call a timeout. I mean, my thing is like the burden to call a timeout really wasn't on J.R. Smith. Anybody that was on that floor, including the coach, could have called a timeout. So for them to kind of scapegoat J.R. Smith by like mishandling that situation, that was totally unfair. And for him to be on the bench and ask the coach, like, "Hey, did we have a timeout?" And once he found out that they did, then he just literally shut down, and he really wasn't there mentally for overtime because they still had a chance to win game one, but he just shut down. Just like a typical man child that he is. I'm sorry to say this, but I mean that's how he comes off. But it definitely cost his team at least game one, and then following game one, he broke his hand on a chalkboard, and he was probably playing with a sprained hand for the rest of the series. And then once the series was done, he came out with a cast just so that he can have that built-in excuse to why he didn't succeed in the finals.
Yeah, and to your point on J.R. Smith, it wasn't fair to put all the blame on him. It's just he's an easy target because he's known to be that knucklehead kind of guy. He's been on plenty of antics before. And
Yeah.
then LeBron injuring his hand and then wearing the cast afterwards. I believe it was like during the press conference.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to the ankle injury that he had with the LA series that he just got kicked out of, where they just say, well, it's because LeBron's ankle is not fully healed. That's why he couldn't close it out or play as well. Um, yeah, at the same time, you're right. He was mentally drained from that game one, but he also put up, I think, 55 plus points. I think it was a playoff record at the time.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
it's definitely I can understand why he's very frustrated in that. He put all that work in, and then it's just that that game would have kind of put a real good start to the series.
Oh yeah.
But I'll give you that. He should have at least put up at least a couple points, which I don't think he even did in overtime. But I can understand his frustration on that.
Yeah, and actually, prior to George Hill getting fouled, he had Steph Curry guarding him on top of the key.
Hmm.
LeBron was on fire throughout the whole game. So my thing was he should have never given up the ball. He could have drove on Steph Curry, a smaller guy, or he could have just pulled up on top of Steph Curry and got the best shot that he can get because he could pretty much get any shot against Steph Curry. Steph Curry's not going to try to jump and block his jump shot. So, but the fact that he just gave the ball up to George Hill, and George Hill, he was guarded by Klay Thompson, a taller, elite defender, and he kind of put the burden on George Hill to make two free throws. But unfortunately, he think he made one and missed the second one. But yeah, man. I mean, he is a great player, but as far as his passive aggressive nature, it is definitely off putting. And like the
Mhm.
media, they kind of make excuses for him.
Yeah, it kind of the story kind of reminds me of I'm an Aaron Rodgers fan where Aaron Rodgers does get criticized for being passive aggressive with his teammates,
Yeah.
and there's been like comparisons that Michael Jordan is Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers is LeBron James. So when you kind of put in that, I definitely see the comparison a little more clearer now.
You think Brady is like Jordan as far as leadership style?
No, no, that
Oh, okay.
definitely Tom Brady's definitely has a different leadership style than Jordan, but in terms of like success, they kind of put him in the same realm.
Yeah. You know what? Speaking of Brady, right? Now I even told this to my friends about how right now Tom Brady may be the GOAT overall in sports. Because like prior to Brady winning his last Super Bowl, like when you call Michael Jordan the actual GOAT, it's assumed that he's the GOAT, literally of all sports. Now, being that Brady now is the GOAT because he got 7 Super Bowls. Now, do you think that LeBron may feel as though that getting 6 rings is that like an old goal in which like the new goal now is 7 just to catch up with Brady? Because if Brady's going to be the GOAT over Jordan, then why would LeBron be the GOAT over Jordan, in which he has less rings? He has more finals appearances, but he has less rings, way more finals losses. But the appeal now is to win 7 because Brady could possibly be the newest GOAT of all sports because of his success.
Yeah, to me, like when I thought of like the GOAT tier, I always thought of it just like the GOAT of your own sport.
Okay.
Because I think there was just a segment on this week. LeBron was criticizing the GOAT tier, that Brady is the GOAT of all sports. I just don't think it's fair to have a GOAT of all sports, knowing that football, you only play on one side of the ball versus basketball, you have to play two ways. And if LeBron were to get 6 rings, it still wouldn't matter. People won't call him the GOAT because kind of thing like the percent, your win percentage of getting rings. LeBron's win percentage of getting rings in the finals would be, he's not as good as Jordan. Jordan's record's flawless in the finals. And like I said, it just doesn't feel fair to have a GOAT of all sports. I agree. I think there should be GOATs of each sport, but just not all.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I mean, prior to Brady winning, like I was just saying, like the assumption of calling Jordan the GOAT. Like, would you think that if you call Michael Jordan like the GOAT in the NBA, would you think that he can literally kind of overshadow the other GOATs in the other sports as well, as far as like as far as like the peak in which the way that he won his championships?
Jordan overshadowing GOATs is what you mean?
Right.
Um, no, I just wouldn't put any other sports in the mix. I just would only compare him to other GOATs or potential GOATs of the NBA or basketball in general.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Now, now as far as moving forward, as far as how do you think that the Lakers would end up like around this time next year? I mean, assuming everyone's healthy, do you think they can make one more championship run?
Knowing the Lakers are a very attractive market for players to go to, I wouldn't be surprised they pick up someone on free agency. So as long as LeBron is on your team, you always have a chance of going to the finals or even at least the playoffs. So I think they'll probably make some moves and they'll return back, and I don't think they'll get eliminated in the first round. How about you?
Assuming that everyone's healthy, I mean, it's gonna be stiff competition. I mean, Denver's not going anywhere. You still got Utah, Dallas, with the hiring of Jason Kidd. So they're pretty much like one player away. I don't think Porzingis is the actual answer to be the number 2 guy down there. So plus they got to re-sign Tim Hardaway Jr. I thought he's a good player, but he's not. He's not. Will be like like a big 3 of any championship type of team. I mean, he's just a good role player, but Tim Hardaway, he just can be your third best player. Um, See who else? I mean, Golden State. I mean, you got Klay Thompson coming back. In Golden State, I think they have like the 9th pick, so they probably end up, getting like a big free agent. We'll see. Um, See who else. Still got to figure out what New Orleans is going to do. Um, yeah, Phoenix is not going anywhere. I mean, the West is pretty much stacked, man. I mean, it's stiff competition. So if the Bucks win a championship this year, I mean, they pretty much going to be the hunted. So you got to literally just um try to get Giannis off that high horse. So I mean, it's so hard to be championship team. So like assuming if Milwaukee wins, which I think that they will, because I don't think that as good as Phoenix is, I don't think that they don't match up well with the Bucks.
Yeah, I like Phoenix. I mentioned in a previous video that whoever wins the LA Phoenix matchup, that was who was going to be my winner for the NBA Finals. The matchup with Milwaukee, yeah, I'm not too confident in that one myself, just because. But Chris Paul has kind of been iffy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you had broke up for like a good 15 seconds. I caught the very tail end of you saying something about Chris Paul, and that was it. So just to kind of try to try to figure out what you said and that missing gap. Yeah, Phoenix is definitely you can't sleep on them because Devin Booker, I mean, he is on his way to be a superstar. I mean, he's almost like a Kobe Bryant type of clone. I mean, he's really that good.
I
And
agree.
as long as their 3-point shooting is pretty much on point, and also DeAndre Ayton, he's gonna hog up the lane and grab the boards and be that defensive anchor. I mean, Phoenix won't be an easy out. But however, with the Bucks, I mean, you got Giannis. He's a freaking force, and you got Lopez, in which he's a stretch five. So with Aiden, he can't just be sitting in the paint and just leaving Lopez just wide open. True Holiday, I mean, he's kind of a lockdown defender. I mean, he's kind of been exposed a little bit with Trey Young just running amok. But and Chris Middleton, he's a good number two. He's been clutch, been playing well these playoffs. And they got some good 3-point shooting off the bench. So, Milwaukee, they could compete against any team in the league right now. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be a fun finals. And actually, the ratings has been going up since the second round. So people are starting to tune in back into the NBA playoffs. So I'm not sure if this a anti LeBron James effect going on, but the fans are coming back because I mean I think it was a turn off from last year from all the SJW stuff going on, but like now I think fans are starting to come back a little bit. Now, I don't have any issue with the players standing up for causes, but like to me, I think that if they're going to have any type of statements coming out when it comes to social justice, I think that should be like a unified statement that comes out through the union instead of the individual players themselves just spewing stuff out every time that they're going to get interviewed by the media. Because my thing is going to turn off the fans and you don't want to affect your bottom line. And if you got any social justice causes that you want to kind of like spew out there, my thing is, you have all the time in the world. Once the season is up with, and you pretty much got a whole off season to like kind of focus on of all your social justice causes. Plus, these guys got platforms that's like bigger than mainstream media. So, but as far as them constantly putting out in the open as far as, these social justice stuff. I mean, it should just be a one unified statement by the union and that's it. So, but that's just me. This is my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I see your point. If players are all saying different stances that are somewhat the same, but the message is not as clear across the entire league, then it could turn off some fans, and it doesn't give them sort of the what is the main point of what they're trying to convey, the main message. So sometimes it can be a little hard to understand and turns fans off, even if they're against or even with what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, fans do get the NBA players' gripes, but from a fan standpoint, they just want to see sports. They don't want to see the mixture of politics and sports, intermingle. And plus, we all kind of getting over a pandemic, so
Mm-hmm.
we just want to just tune out of like the real world and just see a nice, entertaining game. So, but,
Yeah, right. And you mentioned the pandemic, and one thing I've noticed is I think people are getting more in tuned with the finals or the playoffs just for the fact that like I watched the Milwaukee game and I was just in Milwaukee last week, and everybody is so active and on the streets knowing that they can be more engaged with the game. They're letting fans go in, and then Milwaukee itself, they have this huge like party every game, and it's just the street is filled with people, and then fans kind of get more of a positive light on the direction of where the world is coming to with this pandemic, because as you know, more people getting vaccinated and things are being more loosened with restrictions. And another thing I think why the ratings are going up, you mentioned the LeBron effect, but you have to remember one of the biggest upsets of this playoffs is Brooklyn getting eliminated. And kind of going into the playoffs, it was, it's going to be LeBron versus the Brooklyn Nets with KD. But that's not the case. Now it's kind of a mixed air of who's actually going to take it on. And that's what's going to get people more engaged, like kind of stay tuned for what's going to happen.
Yeah, it was unfortunate to see Brooklyn lose because they was my pick to win the finals. I mean, I would call it upset because we all kind of knew that, Kyrie didn't play and James Harden, he was like a shell of himself. And KD, he tried to do everything that he could, but he was just 1 inch beyond the 3-point line, and Brooklyn would have been advancing. But unfortunately, his foot was on the line. All he did was just send the game into overtime, and the rest is history. Because either team really didn't want to score because they were just both gassed. I think Brooklyn would score 2 points and the Bucks scored 6 points. I mean, it was really that close, and they were just going back and forth, and no one was scoring. Everybody was gassed, and eventually, I believe it was like Middleton that was like making like a couple of clutch shots that kind of like sealed the deal. But as far as Brooklyn being upset, I mean, I won't call it like a straight up upset because there was some injuries involved in that. But I mean, still, Milwaukee they are a good team, and you know, and if they're gonna win the NBA championship this year, I mean, they actually earned it. So despite all the injuries, they still earned it because I mean, you still gotta be like the most healthiest team as possible in order to kind of give yourself the like the best chance to win. So I mean, injuries is part of the game, but if you come out scot free, then kudos to your training team.
Yeah, that's true. Injuries is part of the game, regardless if it's basketball or football or hockey. So kind of back to Brooklyn with KD. So when LeBron retires, do you think he will be the new face of the league, or will it be someone else?
It will only be a short-lived experience because KD he got like a lot of tread on his tires as well. I mean, KD is like maybe 33 or 34 years old right now, so I mean, he only got just a couple years just to have that best player in the world title. Then after that, I mean, you got new players coming up like I mean, shit, Luca's up there. Maybe Devin Booker, Jason Tatum. I mean, the NBA is in good hands. I mean, Giannis may have that best player in the world title. I mean, if he can kind of develop a more proficient mid range and 3 point, shit, Giannis will be unstoppable. I mean, he would be more like a KD, LeBron James put in one because he's very strong, he's very long, he go to the cup anytime he want. But if he have a more proficient jump shot, he's literally Kevin Durant. So I will put that label more on Giannis. I mean, he already got two MVPs, and still he still got so much growing to do in this game, and that's scary.
Yeah, we've kind of forget that Giannis is a young guy. I think he's not even 26.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. With two MVPs, and possibly going to win a chip this year. So, yeah, Giannis he's going to be around for at least the next 10 years. So, but if he win his first championship this year, I mean, shit, for the next 5 years, he could probably eke out another two championships in like the next 5 years. So, and Kawhi, he's getting up there in age as well, and plus he's more of a load manager guy, and any type of nag injury that he has, he's going to sit out. I'm not sure how serious his knee injury is, and but yeah, I mean he's not going to come back in the series, and unfortunately, the Clippers should be going home after tonight. So
Yeah, I do forget Kawhi, and kind of the reason why I forget Kawhi is just he's just not like the other faces of the league, like LeBron. He's just not a very vocal person. He's obviously very memeable, but he doesn't really talk to the media as much as the other superstars.
right, right, yeah, he has that funny laugh. So oh, here we go. You hear it?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So yeah, any last bullet points you wanna talk about your boy LeBron Ramon James Jr.
um, Hopefully Space Jam 2 is going to be good.
What you think of the first one?
I liked it. I had it on VHS. I watched it a lot growing up because my Melissa didn't want to deal with me, so she just played the VHS to keep me busy when she babysat me.
Okay, I think I was like 15 when it came out, and my parents had drove me to the theater so I could take my younger brother at the time. I think he was like how old was he? He was probably like 6 or 7. So I had to go to the theater with him, and I thought it was an okay movie. I mean, obviously, I'm a huge Jordan fan, so yeah, I'm gonna watch the movie and try to enjoy it. So, but I thought it was kind of ironic that like maybe 2 years ago when my daughter was 3, we was kind of like browsing through Netflix movies, and I saw the Space Jam artwork, right? And I asked my daughter, I was like, "Hey, who is that on the screen?" She said, "That's Bugs Bunny." I was like, "Oh, okay. So who's the other one?" And she said, "That's Michael." I was like, "Oh shit!" Like the fact that like my 3-year-old knows in like a small scale of the Michael Jordan brand. She don't know like the Michael Jordan basketball player brand, but she knows the Michael Jordan brand as far as like the tall, dark, bald head dude. I mean, it was amazing how like that actually kind of like gave me some type of like pause. Like, oh man, like my 3-year-old daughter knows about Michael Jordan. I thought it was kind of insane. So yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's no surprise. Like he's a $1 billion man, and I'm sure his face is seen somewhere. I mean, his shoes are all around. But yeah, you're right. It is a little strange because you mentioned like people like Michael Jordan versus LeBron. You think it's a generational thing. So I would imagine it's very refreshing to see that your daughter can still recognize someone that's part of your generation of basketball.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, well, obviously she don't know the basketball player Michael Jordan, but it's just the whole like the visual brand of Michael Jordan, and which she was just kind of recognizing, and I thought that was kind of cool, just kind of like see that off top. So, but yeah, man, it was a pleasure, man, and but yeah, I just wanted to talk to you, kind of pick your brain as far as what you think about LeBron James and I mean, obviously, like me and you, kind of like are two different generations. And like for me, I've been watching basketball since '90, I believe, and like just to kind of see like so many careers, like Hall of Fame careers from start to finish, like in the likes of Shaq and Kobe, Penny Hardaway, Grant Hill, like Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett. Like I've seen like a lot of great players' careers from start to finish. So but yeah, I saw like a lot of careers from start to finish, and just to kind of like judge LeBron's career from start, and he just about to be done, hopefully in a couple years. So, and I mean, just to call him like the second best player ever, like to most LeBron fans, it's like a total insult because they want him to be like the number one best player ever to play basketball. But I mean, if you can make the argument, I mean, really don't have no issue with it, but for me, I think Jordan's number one and Bron is number two, and that's a huge compliment. But a lot of people just take offense to that.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes people don't realize there were players before them too. I mean, just putting these two in the same tier, I think it's fair. Because like some people they say they haven't seen other eras of basketball, so it's easy for them to kind of be a little one sided on who they think is the best of the best.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, man. So it's gonna be interesting to see how this offseason is gonna go and who's gonna end up signing with the Lakers, and we can see what type of effort they could kind of put into next year, and see if they're gonna be playing in June. If not, it's gonna be like another year of loss in the LeBron James saga, and he may just retire with just 4 rings. So I guess we'll see.
I don't. As I said, when Ron's on your team, there's always a chance. But yeah, Rob, I appreciate you having me on the show. I always have a good time chatting with you. My sister thinks you're the best. I think you're the best. So yeah, I'm about to do this again.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it, man. Yeah, we definitely got to get together, real soon and figure out what subject that we're going to tackle. So I know that football's coming up soon. So you know what? Maybe we could kind of like do like a preview of the whole Justin Fields
I like to do that.
franchise quarterback for the Bears. So but yeah, we could kind of do a prediction when he'll start. So we could try to forecast that.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Hopefully they move their stadium.
Uh, to where though?
I heard they put a bid on the Arlington Heights racetrack.
Oh, really?
Yeah, could be new management too.
Interesting. Okay. Yes, a lot of real estate up there. Okay. I used to drive past there. I used to work at Hoffman Estates. I used to commute from Cumberland to Hoffman Estates back in 2007. Yeah, that'll be interesting. Cool. That'll be interesting because like going to Soldier Field is always a hassle getting in and out of the stadium. I mean, you literally got to lose half your day just to go to a Bears game. It is crazy over there.
I agree.
And they should have a dome so they can host the Super Bowls here. So, so AJ, man, it's been a pleasure, and it's been a pleasure.
Same, Rob. You take it easy. I'll talk to you soon.
I see you. Have a good night.